compressed by exactly the same factor by which matter is considered compressed energy. Now, what does that mean? Well, again, Einstein, we always come back to him, he taught that everything that is physical is actually energy. And he had an equation for that. And the factor by which that energy is converted is the speed of light squared. Now, when you square a number, you multiply it by itself. For example, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25, etc. So you take a figure like 186,000 miles an hour, or a second rather, and square it, you've got a very large number. Actually, it's even bigger than that. This is probably the most famous equation in all of physics. Everybody's seen it, even if people don't understand what it means. Here's what it means. E equals mc squared. E is the energy that is released by any amount of matter multiplied by the speed of light in centimeters squared. Now, I don't even know what the speed of light in centimeters is. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's an enormous, enormous amount of energy. And that's what you get with nuclear fission. That's what you get with the atomic bomb or the hydrogen bomb. You have a small amount of fissionable material like uranium, cesium, plutonium, and you slam it together with explosive force. That's what they did with the original atomic bomb, and it creates a nuclear reaction which has a destructive power in either kilotons or, in the case of a hydrogen bomb, megatons of dynamite. A megaton of dynamite is 1 million tons of dynamite. So that's an enormous amount of energy. And that's why when we dropped the very primitive, by our today's standards, nuclear weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki back in the end of World War II, that blew up most of their city in each case. Now, there's another equation which is much more powerful but much less well known. This is the scalar equation for the conversion of energy. And what it is E equals delta Tc squared. Now, in physics and engineering, the delta, which is a Greek letter, means change. And the letter T means time. So what this is saying is the energy released by scalar weapons is the change in time times the speed of light squared. So the compression in time times the speed of light squared, and that releases just incredible energy. Now, people ask, what do actual scientists here in the United States understand about this? Well, some of them know something about it, but most of them don't. Either it's outside of their frame of reference, or they're thinking inside of this little box, and they're not willing to think outside of the box. While I was on tour with this talk, I had a lady come up to me and say her daughter was just finishing up her PhD in quantum physics at a very prestigious California university. I won't name the university. She asked her about this stuff, and her daughter says, "Oh, that's impossible. It can't happen. That's totally impossible." She offered to give her, and her daughter's only like 25 years old, and usually you think younger people are open to new ideas. She handed her this book, said, "Would you read this book?" She says, "No, I don't even want to see it. That doesn't even exist." So again, remember, science is often just like a cult. If it's outside of what they believe, they don't want to know about it. So science in this country, the Defense Department knows about some not what are called non-conventional weapons. They know about lasers. Of course, big deal. Lasers have been around like forever. We had lasers when I was in high school, for heaven's sakes. We have particle beam weapons. Again, big woo, But most of us have totally missed the boat about this not-so-new weapons technology, which has been around since the 1960s. Recently, well, relatively recently, 1997, Bill Clinton's Secretary of Defense, William Cohen, said this. And this is one of the very few public statements by high-level people in the Defense Department. Others, meaning terrorists, are engaging in an eco-type of terrorism, whereby they can, notice this, alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. So there are plenty of ingenious minds out there that are at work finding ways in which they can wreak terror upon other nations. It's real. And that's the reason why we have to intensify our efforts, and that's why this is so important. Now, I never thought I'd agree with anybody in a Clinton administration, but in this case, I have to give this guy a hearty amen. I hope they are following his advice, which he gave like 8 years ago. Now, these are a totally new reality in military combat. They can project electromagnetic or electrogravitic energy to any place on the planet at will. Distance is no deterrent. Since they're faster than light, the energy is projected to the target in nanoseconds, which is so quick you don't even know. It's less than a wink of an eye. Like these scalar weapons are therefore capable of destroying anything, anywhere. Land ordnance, in other words, tanks, jeeps, even entire military bases, naval vessels, and even submarines, and of course planes, jets, and ballistic missiles. They can be directed at an individual site or location. They can even be targeted to hit human targets, even in shielded rooms or underground bunkers. Now, imagine this. You could put the President of the United States 5 miles underground in a room that was lined with a foot of lead on all 6 sides, and they could still turn him into a crispy critter in less than a second. So any kind of shielding is meaningless. They can also be aimed at a pi wedge arc of the sky to take out a large number of aircraft at once. So, for example, here we see the scalar weapon in the center of the horizon line. You know how the horizon appears to be a circle around you as you look at it. And if there was airplanes coming in there, you can see like between 11 and 12 o'clock on the chart. All they have to do is fire the weapon, and every airplane, every bomb, every missile that's in that range of that wedge would just drop to the ground and be totally useless. Then all I have to do is turn it a little bit and take care of the 12 to 1 o'clock, so to speak, then the 2 to 3 o'clock, and so on and so on. So the whole sky can be wiped out of any kind of incoming fire in just a minute or two with this kind of weaponry. To make matters worse, these weapons also can generate an electromagnetic pulse, just like nuclear weapons do. And I know many of you understand, because there's been articles about these in the newspaper and so on, that if a nuclear weapon goes off, especially in the air where there's nothing to impede it, it sends out this pulse that will instantly fry any computer, any microchip. I mean, like your cell phones, if you have a pacemaker, any kind of electronic device is basically history and irreparable at that point. Well, there is shielding for that. Like, for example, we're told in the Defense Department and the Pentagon and NORAD or whatever, they have computers that are hardened, that are shielded against this kind of EM pulse. But the problem is there is no shielding against a scalar EM pulse. So basically, if the Russians chose to do so, they could essentially turn off every computer in America with a flick of a switch. Tank warfare, totally obsolete at this point. I mean, if you have a tank that is out there and you hit that tank with scalar weapons, instantly all the men in the tank are going to die. They're just going to drop down dead. The fuel in the tank will explode. The weapons in the tank will explode. And all of the electronic equipment in the tank will instantly be, the term is used, dudded. In other words, it will turn into a giant dud. And then there will be nothing left of the tank. And that's what military analysts call a K-kill. In other words, there ain't nothing left, folks. So bye-bye to the tank. Now, how are these weapons powered? Well, as already mentioned, vast energy can be pulled from the vacuum state.